That this is a very high-end Augsburg gorget off of an armor like made by Pfaffenhauser. Could it be Pfaffenhauser? Could be. Is it stamped? No. Can I prove anything? No. It's definitely an Augsburg one. It's got that shape. It's a narrow little one with a nice tall neck on it. It would have sat higher when the leathers weren't scrooched, so it's scrunched down, but it would have sat higher. It has a very different shape. You have a sort of tapered neck here in a series of plates that are moving along. One of the things that makes this exceptionally high-end is, in fact, they've beveled off and cleaned up the inside edges too, so that they have this really crisp line. Also, which is very rare, the front is significantly heavier than the back. Usually they're just sort of wimpy and you put it together, but there's actually meat here. So could this have come off of, a Pfaffenhauser jousting garniture kind of thing? Yes, it could have. I'm not claiming it did, but hey, it'd be fun. It also has really nice beveled edges, and when you play with building these multi-plate gorgets, you will figure out very quickly when you try to make them open that you have to have these notches in just the right places on the sides to allow the plates to bend through each other. Right? Because you have a set of overlapping plates that overlap each other front to back, front to back, front to back. They're overlapping each other in two directions, and they've got to be able to clear each other. So you have to have that notch to allow that plate to clear that other plate on the other side so that it can bend. These hinges are integral. So the plate wraps all the way around and is layered in and then beveled off on the inside. Also, and this is not typical, though I found a second one that I own that does this, the engagement pin has a hole below it, and on the inside of the other one there's a hole in an engagement pin. So you have an engagement pin going each direction and two of them, which will keep the top edge lined up clean. Maybe it's for a rotating collar, right? A rotating collar on a closed helmet or harness, or not, but this is a very different in every way gorget. Similar period, but it just formed differently, shaped differently. It has material in different places, and in every way it is nicer than the other one. Also on the sides, you have to have your plates line up. Top plates got to line up. It's really easy to do. You bolt the thing together, you put it on the edge of the big car, and you go bop, and you use it as its own stepping tool. So, back, done. And that's exactly how, it works beautifully. There's no reason they didn't do exactly that. So you get the same kind of steps sometimes on the inside of the arms where they're overlapping and things like that. It's actually really easy to do. Sometimes you can get it all the way to almost hiding it very easily. So that's a high-end gorget. That's a nice one. That's the way it really should be put together for a German second half of the 16th century gorget.
All that looks like it's got two
Any scratches or wear applications?
and then just ground down turning are made to it.
It's been cleaned a few times.
That's just my
I don't see any,
observation.
but
Would you know, is there a wire inside?
have fun,
Of the-
stare at it.
Yeah.
I think that was especially peculiar,
Okay.
because last time I looked, I think it actually wraps farther than you would expect, and it's sort of folded in on itself, and there may be a wire too. But I have some with wires, I have some without wires up there. The ones I've been doing recently for my kid, I put a wire in it because of the way I'm manufacturing it. I'm using the wire as part of the manufacturing
You can't see
process.
both, you only see.
Okay,
Yeah, first time I touched it.
just to keep the variety going, and this is also a German gorget from somewhere around the same period, slightly later, maybe 1600. And this is a nasty one. This is gnarly, icky, and not well done. This is the exact opposite in every way of the one we had before.
This hand is formed from these plates.
It has a pair of munions hanging off of them. It was designed to have a pair of munions hanging off of them, but honestly, these munions I put on. Now they fit, and I didn't have to rebend them or mess around with them at all, so they're what would have been there, they just are not the same one. I also re-leathered them in modern buff, but you can get a feel for what buff will do.
Wow.
right? The buff will do that easily. And, you know, feel free to wave it around. It's, you know, we're experimenting, see how well the buff will last. So, wave it around, do what you want with it. This also shows you what a nasty pair of munions, how they can be built. All the plates are curved, all the plates are tapered, but they're awful. They're big, they're huge, they're clunky, they're just not nicely done. This one, on the other hand,
That's right, I'm taking the next little circle. My work is free.
this one, on the other hand,
You might want to get on the other side.
is the same thing, but done nicely. Right? All these plates are more delicate, they're finer, they're actually thicker, but anyway, they're for a better piece. They have double engraved lines around the edge, nicely roped borders, and there's a lot more shape. Now, some of this shape is because the plates bend a little more, but until we get to that plate, there's really a lot more shape to the piece. And it works better, it's nicer. Let's be a little nice about this because it's probably original leather. So don't woggle it, or feel free to woggle that one around all you want and have your fun with that one. Let's be nice to this one. It has what's probably an original hinge or buckle on it too. So you can get an idea of what it is. These funny three-dimensional washers,
So again,
I'm finding a lot of them on original pieces, you know, in the tower and stuff. I think they actually did those in the later 16th century at least. So those funny 3D dish washers appear to really be original.
that's old hat.
Okay?
Well, it's because it's not a
So that one's sitting there.
I was just looking to see where they are.
Okay.
Sitting in.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
light compared to
a
the
quarter of the
Oh,
weight,
yeah.
a quarter of the weight of the other, right?
Oh, it's very light. So it's only 1/8 inch.
Now, was this actually damage from use, or do you think it was damage from hammer?
No, I think that's just delamination that's going on. Delamination and cleaning. Yeah.
Go figure.
Because there's, flip
I
it
saw
over,
the other one.
there's more delamination.
Yeah, oh, it's in, yeah,
Yeah.
like that, it's that
There-
name.
It's a big silicating fluid.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what you said earlier. That's what
Yep.
I'm trying
Yeah,
Well,
so
I was guessing. and
Is it-
it's a symbol.
obvious.
It's a cold short or a symbol there. It's crappy metal.
Yeah.
So there's something funny that happened, and the metal was not all homogeneous there, and it started popping. Oh well, it had silicate in it. It had something.
You don't get a whole lot of
When you're
arm
done.
motion out of it, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, you can try putting it on and see what's going on. You
to
get
tell, but it's rolled out.
you'll
Yeah, no, it was,
Yeah.
You'll get back to here, you'll get up to here maybe, you'll get here. You're not gonna get here.
that's from putting it on.
You're not gonna get here.
You're not gonna do your
Yes.
jumping jack.
No, you're not gonna, well, even if you
Yeah, like that.
But,
Right here,
yes,
you can see the metal didn't quite come in. So it has to be
Guns are too big.
farther.
It looked like
So
our
if you look at
fitting.
the line, you can see
It's
it.
close.
But here is
Yeah.
Right,
so that needs to be, that should be inside there. You can at least look at the top. Is it, which way is this going? Or are you playing with that too?
This was going that way.
if you're happy with
Okay.
Because once you get that high, you sit
But this one,
Well, some of it would be better if you have a breastplate on top of it, right, holding it down a little bit.
Like he was saying, bring it out.
Yes, but it's not going to give you over your shoulder, but it'll give you forward movement,
Yeah.
right? It'll give you that kind of movement.
So see, here it's flat,
So,
it's raised,
oh, and
flat.
push this in.
okay.
We'd have some cover photo for the album.
Oh, push it.
Here's me wearing it.
with the cool blood and iron martial arts shirt.
More of that delamination too.
Why are you looking at the same stuff that he had at that point?
Is my
It's all working in
mustache
metal.
Funny, you make that stuff.
That's why.
Did you get the bunny ears?
When we put leather. Because we didn't wrong with leather.
You got the, well, look at
Well, we didn't have that research when we put our shit
Inside
together.
there.
Was that one this one?
That was
That one's done.
That was done.
Really sloppy.
Yes.
Now, you got a new project?
Bias on it.
I mean, is that what you're looking to go into?
So
No, it just looked like it was 50 bucks. He said put it on and try, so there was no way I was going to ignore that.
I can see you on a rail in Europe somewhere getting your corkscrew turned sideways, losing his head.
I've actually been looking at some of the Alpine, the sliding, like Halston Bruce and
So that would attach, I've never done it, but there would be a buttonhole that would attach into there.
And I can almost see that something like that with a little more fluting and piping on there.
Need a much more elegant.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I need that one, she's that.
It's like a low production. Let's see the same thing on the top here as the other one.
Yeah, that's a good shot.
Wow.
Because you'll see this in.
I'll give it back.
That's new leather, yeah.
Okay, well, it's brand new leather, I put it in.
You barbarian.
Oh, it was toast. There were Tinner's rivets riveted all the way through, holding this in. And modern Tinner's rivets down the back. And this one, the leather was falling apart and the pieces were falling out. So I didn't hurt anything. Yeah, it's I reassembled it reasonably. And it was in such terrible shape it didn't hurt. I didn't hurt anything. No, I think I gained noticeably. Okay. Yep.
Looks like the leather's hinged on, stuck in the hinge in there. The leather.
Oh, that, yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay.
running out of battery.
Light?
Oh, it's very light. While people are playing with those pieces, while people are playing with those, we can sort of talk through a few more, and then somebody or whoever wants to go for some lunch can go for some lunch and wander back and play some more if we want to.
It's no sulfur, somebody just lit something on fire.
This is a very early 16th century Maximilian Spalter. It has high-end decoration on it. So you can see the ends of each of the little flutes are filed in little cusps, and they're lines down next to each other, and there's etching in between. The rope on the bottom is this huge, long, double-lined, hollow thing. The buckle is most likely original with decoration on it and a little decorative mount. It's also a good example of what bad things happen to good armor. The back is secured by sliding rivets, like it should be. You can always tell, even if you can't see any slots, the back is the one with no rivet in the middle of the plate. The front is the one with a rivet in the middle of the plate. Up here, right? Because that's where the leather had to be attached to hold the front. There's still a line of rivets, but they're fake. They don't do anything. They just fill the construction hole. Except in this case, where some dork riveted it solid. So there's a leather down the middle, a sliding rivet down the back, and there are a pair of holes all the way up that would have secured the leather, but not anymore. So it
Oh, wait, this is the German.
yes, it hangs nicely. You don't have to worry about the leather falling apart anymore because it's gone.
Don't try to do anything with it.
But you can't move.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot move in it. So we can tell that it's a left because that's where it has to go. But don't try to, play with it all you want, but it's not going anywhere.
It'll look good in the museum.
It'll look just fine in the museum, yes. But it'll give you the idea, you get a little bit of slop up here, so you don't have that big cop digging into your shoulder. But not a lot. And you can see how all the decoration works and what a real buckle and real mounts would look like. So I'll start this one here and then I'll do some tacit plates the other way.
Since we know the rivets are strong.
Make it the bottom.
Yep. Okay.
feeling repoussé-ish, are we?
Feeling repoussé-ish? Well, here's repoussé-ish.
Ugo's got me thinking.
Yeah. We need to get Ugo to some of this stuff, but this is a pair of relatively late 16th century, 15, 60, 70, 80, 90. Yeah, sort of. With acanthus leaves. We were having a grand old time picking on it for acanthus leaves at Patrick's house Thursday night. Patrick, that's just the new joke. Every time we find a leaf out there, here, you don't have acanthus leaves for your helmet. But, so what we get out here is 3D, what some 3D repoussé work looks like. It's not terribly complicated, but it does have some real depth to it. Nice little ropes roll around the edge. Somebody was jabbering about how did they punch holes in period. Take a look at the holes. The holes are a little funky. And I think they're original, and I don't think they've been messed with. Those were the lining strap / picadills / whatever they were going to put around the edge holes. And somebody's yanked all the rivets out, but they're original holes. And I don't think they've been messed with. They're tapered. So it is worth looking at how the holes were done. And I've recreated a similar feel with a broad, big center punch that's too big for the hole, and driving it through into a rubber whitney die because it was easy and it had a hole in it.
Yeah.
And you just sort of drive it in and let the punch fall out.
Yeah.
And you don't have to line it up real carefully. You sort of hit it on the outside and you get a dimple, and then you line it up and you bonk. And there's no mangling of the material like when you try to punch it through with a flat punch and shear and pop it out and things like that. It's fast.
You just use your tapered punch.
Big, wide, I mean, way too big for the hole. Tapered punch. And then a die that's the right size.
Yeah.
And you can knock it out. And it's, 2 or 3 discs depending on ours.
Just chisel that edge off.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
Do you think
camera
that's-
has.
Do I know they did that?
Was this pushed down? Pushed down and then flipped over and
I bet it's
chiseled.
pushed down and then chiseled back into
Controls to
it.
respond through the gloves.
I've seen that done on wood, taking out from a wood block. Press in what you
Yeah,
got.
there you go. Everybody's got their armor on, right?
You roll it as you go, as you're creating the pattern.
Putting it on all day.
Basically,
music.
raising
You're
it a little
moving your
bit,
angle
then chisel the details.
Little trimming, somebody needs.
Little bit red.
Have a really good example of making hummingbirds in the copper.
Proper stuff, we did learn that.
Got one sort of like this one.
But they
They're a slider.
do the repoussage and then they cut it
Yeah,
out.
it's very last stainless steel.
Okay,
You've seen that. He's taking a stump.
while you're playing with all of those,
And he'll cut a foot of leaf crease to do like a.
Yes. They're doing,
Not the cowder, but the.
Cauldron, you had a chance. Oh, they started in the middle of the
Not the grain machine.
yeah.
And he was doing a fleur de lis, and he had the fleur de lis hard.
Especially
A
since
larger
if you work
the fleur de lis, chipped it out,
to get that kind of
put his metal on there, just hit it with a
single
hammered it in.
half
That's how I got the bases
same
out.
way I draw mine.
I'm not sure for like after we
Well, he actually knows he's thinking
That's what.
I know he's a bit of a
No,
criminal.
Hammer it up
But
towards.
Yeah, looks right.
Okay, so you know,
yeah, so you got the one rod suit,
All done
and it looks great until you get real close.
Okay,
That
so-
one is black and white.
no, there's awful stuff in these, but anyway. So while we're floating those around, to continue the trend,
Round.
Those are interesting.
tacit end plates. We've got 3 more tacit end plates, and then everybody can start yelling and screaming. These are early, puffed and slashed, early 16th century.
There you go.
Shows you what a puffed and slashed really would be done like. The relief is very low.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of relief to
here
it.
on this side.
It's just enough to give the shape, and then there are engraved lines in there. Again, I don't know how they engraved them, but let's not worry about that. That accent them, make them pop and go. And a huge tapered roll on the bottom edge.
Beautiful rolls.
Big tapered roll. I forget who, these were actually in a famous collection and were exhibited somewhere, but anyway.
That's awesome.
And then we have, little cusp work up at the top, because, you couldn't just have a straight edge across the top, that would be just too weird. So, and it's also completely asymmetric. So, this is the inside of the leg, that's the outside of the leg, leather, and sliding rivet. And one slopes all the way up in, and the other dead ends. So you get two completely different sides to make them work completely differently. The other tacet plate theoretically came out of the Portuguese Royal Armoury. And there is certainly high-end fire steel decoration on this thing. It also has really fine double-line roping on the bottom. So it's another example of how you can decorate things up. These are sort of decoration examples rather than construction examples. And this was a detachable plate so that you could have just this one extra end plate instead of something. So probably you exchanged out the knee for this, and you had a long tacet without a knee instead of a long tacet with a knee. So this would have been on a pretty high-end garniture to be worth that kind of separation.
The fire shocker would have been with the gold. Yeah, that's right. Habsburgs.
Habsburgs owned the place, yes.
Yeah, so it could have belonged to a member of the order of the
It could have belonged to a very high-end piece of armor.
Yeah, I mean, those are like,
These look like they came off the big puff shirt,
They are.
butt armor.
Yeah, the Rogador.
It's getting in your way.
Yes, it is that kind of thing.
And we're talking like here, right?
We're talking like right above the knee.
In
Yeah,
place
it's,
of, in place of the knee.
yeah, it's right here. Yeah. I could show you tacets and endings.
Okay, you're not getting along.
So what?
Rogendorf, as I remember, I forget names.
The one with the big puffy
Big
sleeves
puffy
with the butt armor.
sleeves, yes.
I haven't when I've done that. I think I've gotten that line.
Everybody tried to replicate that.
Mac did one years ago, like in the 80s. I don't know if there are any pictures left of it, but it was actually not bad.
Enough.
You can jabber with him about it, he'll probably cringe at this point, but it was amazing for 1980s work. It was amazing for today's work. It was a beautiful piece. I saw it sometime in the mid-80s.
Yeah, who it was?
He mentioned it last night, some guy in Ohio or Indiana.
Geometric.
I forget where.
It'd be fun to track him down. You're not interested in armor anymore.
You're not interested in selling that, would you? Yes. Okay. So we've managed somehow to get all the pieces out here. People can continue to play with them, ask questions, talk to each other, play whatever you want to do. Probably somebody's going to get yelling at us for about lunch soon, if not already.
I'm gonna go and dash and get lunch and come back.
That's fine. That's fine. And I can just stay here if you happen to grab me one. Then I'll stay here the whole time. I don't know what they have.
All right, I'll bring you everything.
Beef and chicken.
Beef and chicken, what, barbecue?
Barbecue, I think.
Barbecue
I'll,
sandwiches,
I'll
chicken.
order a selection, what they got.
Sure. That's fine, thank you.
Yeah.
And the stuff will stay here for a
Yeah,
while.
that's true, might be good barbecue, you're in Texas.
What?
Might be good barbecue, you're in Texas.
Might be, it's different.
Yeah.
This is all.
It won't be steamed.
Well, it won't
Not
be,
mustard vinegar sauce.
it won't be, yes.
Yeah, there's your,
My part of North Carolina, well, where I moved to, I didn't grow up there.
unless it's
It
just.
seems to be
outside
this
it.
weird barbecue, and it's sort of, it's kind of neat to have it different, so I enjoy it.
Everything about that is
Yeah, it's on the
wrong.
left, I think.
What?
This is the left.
Well,
The doubling gray line is cheating.
oh, and,
That is nice tight. Yeah.
You know,
just while you're staring at things, every rivet on those puffed and slashed pieces is fake and wrong.
Really?
They are obviously fake and wrong rivets.
Oh, yeah.
But the roping is not.
No, just the rivets. Everything else is fine. The steel plate is fine. The rivets, fake.
There's a lot going on. You don't
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
Give you the heads up now. Because
It has some weight to it, doesn't
It
it?
is a little bit of.
I'm not this one, yeah.
I have a,
You're not scared.
I have a heavier. It's been months, things have happened, people have done bad things to this house. Yeah, somebody's been adjusting and they shouldn't have done.
So that was done afterwards, then they didn't post the wrong ball and moved over just.
I don't know. From memory, the thing has been pretty badly reassembled a couple of times. And so there's some spare holes that have been thrown into it.
I'm
Oh,
hoping for a note
Has
on
to have that breastplate, yeah.
No, that's, the onions over here are a good example.